Welcome everyone to the Spiel Sports Talk Show, the most exciting sports talk show on Twitch. It's your boy Sal. It's a Muslim live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is 1 a.m. in the morning, December 12th. I'm with my boys here. I'm with Randy. I'm with Quay. If you've been here before, you know what it is. If you haven't been here before, welcome. We're going to talk NFL, and we also give our takes on the leagues all over the world across different sports at the end of the show with the spiel. Randy over there in Jersey, how you doing?
We doing good. We doing good. Happy to be back chatting sports with the fellas. We got a good lineup of topics. I mean, there's some really good sports memes going on right now. We're in the playoff push for the NFL. I think there's a lot of the storylines that we've been talking about the past couple months that are coming to a head. So it'll be good to kind of chop it up on that. And yeah, just update, see where everyone's at. Always good to catch up with the boys. Congratulations to Sal on welcoming, a new addition to the family. So just good to be here. I'll pass it over to Quay.
Yeah, how you doing, Quay?
Yeah.
How's it over there in Arizona? I'm presuming a lot warmer than us over here on the East Coast.
I mean, it does get cold at night for, Arizona standards, like low 40s, mornings and low 40s. So it's a little chilly, and I'm not looking forward to coming home. Look at the forecast right now. I'm like, if it stays like this, I'm not ready for it. I did just pull out the really thick hoodies. I mean, I got one not super thick, but pulled out a lot of the thick hoodies and jackets, so I'll be ready. But I'm also ready to, get into the show tonight. A lot of good things that's been going on in the sports world. And again, like Randy said, congratulations uh,
Thank you.
to baby Mina. Watch out, Mina. There's a new talent who's going to take over the sports world one day, whether it's on the field or off the field, whatever she wants. But yeah, ready to get into it
Sure.
tonight with everyone.
Yeah, let's do it. And when we kick it off with the Thursday night game that just happened, we watched it together. And it was a game that seems like the Bucks were gonna win, but the Falcons ended up chipping away out the lead, putting up 15 points in the fourth quarter. Kirk Cousins started the game. He threw 3 touchdown passes to Kyle Pitts, and their kicker kicks the field goal as time expires to win the game 29-28. And on that final drive, Cousins had a couple big plays to Pitts. I mean, Pitts looked like he was a Hall of Famer tonight. I mean, if he plays like this consistently, I mean, he would be a first ballot. That's the type of potential that we've seen from him. So it'd be interesting to see how his value goes up next season, especially if him and Cousins continue to do this. I mean, Cousins lost his job to Michael Penix and ended up getting it back just because of the circumstance. And the Bucks, who were in a really tight race with the Carolina Panthers, really lost an opportunity to get ahead here. Baker threw a pick in the fourth quarter, and the Bucks end up losing. I think their fifth time in 6 games, and now are a half game behind the Panthers in the NFC South, and they have to play the Panthers twice in the final 3 games. Quay, what were your thoughts here on the game? And maybe before we even talk about that, there was a play that was controversial, and it was a fumble that
I was going
happened.
to bring that up.
Yeah, a fumble that happened late in the game. Uh, let's check it out here.
6-7.
Fumble.
Umbelina. I love the play-by-play.
You can see there, ball's out. Mooney drops it. There's like 20
Mhm.
different bucks there, and yeah, none of them end up recovering it.
Oh
Interesting,
wait,
huh?
I think I had Mooney playing in a
So how does that happen? Uh, Here's the screenshot of all of the Buccaneers around him, and they were unable to
And no,
recover it.
no Falcon came up with the ball. That was the very interesting thing. No, it didn't seem like any Falcon came up with the ball.
Going that way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but what were your thoughts, Square, on the game we just watched?
Um, well, in typical fashion, I feel like Atlanta, Tampa tend to have fun shootout games in their division. Um, we had a good, fun Thursday night football matchup, which is always good for the league. I do feel like sometimes we don't get those. We talk about that plenty of different times. But we've had several fun Thursday night football matchups this year, and this was a good one here. I'm not surprised about Kyle Pitts' output outside of like maybe the amount of yardage he put out and the receptions, but he does typically have good games. He does typically have good games against Tampa. There's just something about anytime he goes against Tampa that he tends to feast a little bit more. Shout out to Captain Kurt. I feel like he's gonna ask you or tell you you like that. I did. I really did like that tonight. 30 of 44, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns. As you said, lost his job to Penix last season. Came out this year as the backup definitively. And there was rumors probably would get traded during the offseason. Kept him around just because you never know. You might have a key injury as we saw, which we'll get into later on in the show. Daniel Jones's injury and how we have a 4-year-old retiree in. It's nice to have a backup on your team, even if you may be paying him starter money. But he came out here, had an amazing performance, and really helped them get a win tonight. I do think there were some skeptical officiating calls. One I would say in particular is the fumble. It Watching it live, and as we saw with the tweet there at saying the NFL is rigged. I don't want to say it's rigged. I'm not gonna say it. Sometimes I feel like you can question it, and things like that. Just when things like this happens, and I think that's why there are a lot of people who are outwardly feel that way because there was so much confusion too. I don't know. It seemed like everyone was just randomly cool with it, as if they were told to just be cool. I know there's only the captain mic'd up and all that, but I don't know. There's 6 guys there. No Falcon came up with the ball there. But then one of Cal Pitts' touchdowns, very close. I mean, they called it a touchdown on the field of play. It seemed like there was a lot of discussion before they decided to call it a touchdown, and then during the review, it was so close. You can go back and forth, but hey, that's the rule of the game. Where if it's not definitive, then it has to go the way that they call the field. So you could say some of those things kind of cost the Bucks tonight. They had some injuries on defense, especially losing McCollum in the secondary, which I think that started to hurt them a little bit more as the game went on. Bijan was unstoppable as well. Another game with almost 200 scrimmage yards. I think he had somewhere around 180 there. And yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this Bucks team. Baker started the year out very well. Then the team got hit with an injury bug. I feel like he did all that he could. Defense didn't really help him out that much a lot of the times. And I think that's been the biggest issue. Nothing against Baker. He has shown plenty of times that he can put this team on his back. But it's not enough when your defense can't get a stop. Times you need your defense to get a stop, get multiple stops to help you win games. And maybe they did leave some plays out on the field. Some of the drives where they had to kick field goals, and make Baker did miss some throws and things like that. But overall, I think just throughout the year, this team was a team in an NFC East or NFC South that she believes was going to be the easy division winner. And we have a surprise team now taking over that division because of the loss tonight, and that is the Carolina Panthers, which I don't think anybody for the year thought they would weirdly somehow be in this position. Their games are somewhat ugly at times. Sometimes they put up crazy amount of points. Sometimes they beat teams that you're not expecting them to beat, i.e., the Rams. So, yeah, this division as a whole has been weird. I don't know why I'm surprised. Every year, it seems like the NFC South is kind of always weird. It's like any team can get in because they're 9-8, 10-7. They're all hovering around 8-9. So yeah, I don't think the Buccaneers season is over. They can easily still get there and make the playoffs, but they got to win a division. Otherwise, they're definitely not getting in. NFC has a lot of competition in the hunt right now with better. So the only way they can really secure this is with the division. But again, great game tonight. One of the better games. It's a Thursday night lineups, and honestly, one of the better games of the year too. So yeah, I can't say too much. Would you? What some of the highlights that you had, Randy?
Yeah, I mean, I only caught the tail end highlights that you boys just showed me right now, but definitely sounds like it was an entertaining game. And from my personal perspective, I just got my shit pushed in by Pitts' fantasy score in our playoff. So I'm reeling from that. But in reality, I definitely think this is pretty much do or die for the Buccaneers. After having a great start, I think we'll see over the next couple weeks what this team is really made of. Um, and if they actually will get themselves ready for the playoffs, if they can regain that early season form, I think, they are a scary opponent for someone to go up against in the playoffs. But they've looked a little bit too shaky in the close games late this season, and I think that that's ultimately going to be their downfall. I still think it's a great season by Baker, as you mentioned, and sometimes things just aren't connecting, and then as well injuries. They've had, the misfortune of having people like Mike Evans and Godwin on your roster, but never available at the same time. Um,
hmm
is just like, always wondering what could have been. So looking forward to, see how they bounce back from this. A 1 point loss again. It's knife's edge at this point in a late season. So I think either they get discouraged by this and they let the season fizzle out, or this steals their resolve and you could see them actually gain form to finish the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a crucial loss for the Buccaneers. I think it's going to be tough to beat the Panthers twice. That team has looked really, really good. Bryce Young has really developed, and they put a really solid team around them. The running attack over there, Rico Dowdle, shout out to those fantasy owners who have been the beneficiaries of that Panthers offense. Has surprised a lot of people. So we'll see how real they are. I mean, the Bucks are battle tested. I mean, Baker's been there, done that. And this last couple of games stretch, especially that 3 game stretch where they play the Panthers twice, is really going to make the difference. Um, let's move on over to hometown talk here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Throughout the week, I mean, last week there were rumbles of Mike Tomlin and his job and whether or not he was on the hot seat, whether they should part ways. And folks argue that there was some mutual benefit to both parties if it were to happen. And in classic Tomlin fashion, he comes back with a signature win against the divisional rivals, Baltimore Ravens. Uh, the game started off with a dominant performance by DK Metcalf, But the Ravens clawed back in it, and a potential touchdown was reversed by the referees. A potential touchdown by, again, Isaiah Likely, who has been at the center of two calls that have affected the score of the game. Joey Porter Jr. fought through it, and the catch was ruled incomplete. And the Steelers defense ends up holding the Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers had only 8 yards in the fourth quarter, and it was the very typical Steelers Ravens type of game, back and forth, a very physical type of game. But it was one that was won by the away team. The Ravens were on a good stretch where they were winning almost all of their games. Um, Quay, what do you think the Steelers go from here, who have to play the Dolphins on Monday Night Football this upcoming week?
Well, I want to give us some credit for last week's game. Just some of the things that we did. I think there was a little more creativity in the offense, getting DK involved against the Ravens, 7 catches, 148 yards. Really looking like the receiver, at least in that moment, that is worthy of the $30 million that we were paying him. Again, I don't think any of our issues this year has been anything related to the players. I think it has always been schematic. And when we have games like this, it in ways excites me, and then in ways it kind of pisses me off and really frustrates me, because it's like, why can't we draw things like this up every single week? Why can't we have consistency like this every single week? And so it's pretty frustrating. But I'm glad we won. We're pretty much owning the Ravens in this Lamar Jackson era. I think that puts us at 10-3 since he's been in the league, uh, and a starter when he started. Uh, so yeah, it's not really the same rivalry as it was maybe when we were growing up, in terms of it could be a 50-50 type of game, but it's never not or physical game, which is interesting. We just seem to come out on top every single time, more often than not. So I'll give us credit there on offense. Defense also played pretty well. We let them come back a little bit more, but contain Lamar as we always do and always seem to do more times than not. I really like the way our young corners have been playing. Eccles and James Pierre, who had the pick on Lamar. Amazing one-handed interception. He's been playing well all year since the Slay injury, and essentially the Slay injury and his performance, along with bringing other guys in, made Slay expendable. So shout out to Pierre, really improving his game this year, because he wasn't this great, tended to get burnt more often than not, has really been a lockdown corner more times than not, and has played very well since becoming more of a full-time starter or more consistent starter. So I want to give us credit there for sure. But going into this game, or before I get into that, I don't know what's going on with Lamar. It seems like he's still hurt and banged up. The offensive line's also not necessarily the greatest, and
Yeah.
maybe that's also some of their issues there too. But this Ravens team, I think we all thought they were probably going to be the ones owning our division, and we had to really figure out how to beat them. And it's still close. They can still technically win the division, but I don't I don't know, the way this team is on offense right now, it just doesn't seem like they're healthy at at any level. There's no creativity really on their offense either. So they'll have to figure things out. But again, we'll see them one more time
This
before the
big, you
season's
got to be
over.
good.
So we'll see what happens there. But going into Miami will be it should be easier for us to win, seeing like how Tua is not necessarily the greatest in cold and snowy weather. So if we got some snow and it's cold, I think he'll play that well. However, the offense really runs through Devon Achane, so if they can get him rolling, get him going. Obviously, that's going to um, helped them out quite a bit. But they did play very well in New Jersey against the Jets. However, the Jets did have essentially a third string, no name quarterback in once Tyrod Taylor went down. So, can you really say that Tua won the game and he was the reason they won? The defense made some stops. Like I said, Achan did things. Yes, Tua threw a touchdown. But again, didn't have to do too much. So we'll see what happens here in terms of his performance because he's also going to matter. But it starts and ends with HN at first, and if Tua starts to get going because of that, then the game is going to be much more challenging than it probably should be. But I believe we should get the win here. Um, it's a shame we're going in there, even though he's been struggling all year. Maybe this is what's been causing him to struggle. It's kind of sad we're going into the game without TJ Watt, hospitalized with his something going on with his lung. And again, maybe that's right throughout the year he has his best. At times he's looked sluggish, tired. It doesn't seem like he's had that extra burst
Yeah.
or
Hopefully he's all right. I mean,
level.
DK had the stomach problems after the game too, and didn't go on the flight home back to Pittsburgh. So who knows what's
So
going on?
is there just some bug going around? Is it really like
Someone's trying to sabotage the season. But I wanted to show this clip. It was Shannon Sharp on his nightcap show with Ocho Cinco talking about the number 77 from the Ravens, the lineman here. Check it out.
This man so big, he can't block the sun out of his eyes, let alone a defensive lineman or an extra a blitzer coming. Left guard, he's terrible. And chat, I know sometimes my bluntness is not the best, but he's not good. That left guard is not good. I mean, he ain't. You shouldn't be allowed to be that big and that sorry. That needs to be a prerequisite. If you this big, you got to be good. This man so big, he can't block the sun out of his eyes,
lying.
let alone a defensive lineman or.
Yeah, I mean, if Lamar gets hurt, later throughout the season, I mean, this line is the main reason, and I wonder if that means Harbaugh's job with it. Uh, I mean, he's had a great tenure with the Ravens, but the fan base is starting to get a little antsy about the way that, especially this season, has played out. Just because their most important asset, their MVP quarterback, is getting beat up and is probably injured and not playing his best. But he was able to make some big connections to Zay Flowers and really move the ball with Isaiah Likely. And I think Andrews is going to come up big later in the year too. I know that he's had some big mistakes, including one in this game. At the end of the game on fourth down, uh, where Hopkins was supposed to get the ball, but Andrews stepped in front of it trying to catch it. Obviously, you don't know what's going on behind you. And at that point, I think the play had broken down anyway. But it really would have changed the game. But who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers would have went down there and scored anyway. So Steelers have sole possession of the AFC North division and control their destiny moving into the next couple of weeks here. Yeah, Miami should be an interesting game depending on how the weather is. It's been snowing over here. I think it's going to be snowing Saturday, at least an inch. So probably won't see snow on the
Wow.
field, but it'll be cold for Tua. So we'll see how Tua feel about all that. Um, Randy, let's move over on to your squad here, the Commanders, and they were completely
Blown out.
crushed by the Vikings,
Belt to
Yeah. I mean,
and it was to
before
the
I get
point.
into the Commanders, I'll be brief on the Commanders, but go ahead and finish. My fault.
Uh, no, I was just gonna show this play of Jalen here, getting tossed around in a game that at this point I feel like doesn't mean too much for the team. Um, so I guess I want to lead topic off of this question. Do you think they should shut it down here on Jane Daniels? Just because I mean he falls on his elbow there really really hard. I mean he's just getting beat up. I think this tweet's caption is basically telling this guy he needs to put on some more weight or he's not going to last that long here in the league. But what's your thoughts here as a Commanders fan? How should the team move forward with the rest of the season, especially with the play of their injured quarterback?
I think 100% they need to just shut it down. And he shouldn't have played last game, or he should have been pulled at halftime. When you're losing like that, the way that we lost, it was an embarrassment, 0 points on the board. Um, just a disappointing season all around. Uh, it was nice to see against the Broncos, our offense coming together, us looking a little bit healthy, but I think Marcus Mariota was starting to find a rhythm and really able to manage games well. I think there was no reason to rush Jaden back for this game, especially considering that we actually should have the Vikings were having a terrible time themselves. We should have been able to be competitive with this team coming off of an overtime loss against one of the best teams in the league. And instead, we rush back our young quarterback who is dealing with injuries, only for him to get injured again. And I think it's just poor management. Honestly, I don't care if Jaden was fighting to play. I think it's just a bad call on the leadership of the organization to put him back out there for this game in particular. Um, if we're in actual playoff contention, not just some mathematical loophole that relies on other teams failing, then I see maybe a reason to at least test him out. But I think you absolutely should have him on a minutes restriction anyways, even if you want to use him. And I hate to see young talent getting hurt because the leadership within the franchise can't make the right decisions to protect them for the long term. So yeah, shut him down. Hope to see him next year. I do want to touch on the Ravens and Steelers. It's 100%. In the great words of Cam Newton, I bet you better start doing your job to the offensive line of the Ravens. And I that's another case where I do worry for a talent like Lamar. Um, you know, taking these injuries and taking this wear and tear in his prime. How is that going to affect his play style? How is that? How will he adjust to this? Also, in coming seasons, and also for the Ravens now, they have at least a heartbeat. But I think the Steelers' offense starting to gel. That passing offense looked good. Um, I think you see more of that. Then I think you guys take control of this pretty wild division this year. But it's still going to be cutthroat the rest of the way. But I bet on Tomlin and you guys to come out with a winning record and end up pinning down the division. Commanders are cooked. Our division is cooked anyways. We play the Giants coming up, so that's just going to be a tank off. I think Jackson Dart probably punches us in the mouth, but I think Marcus Mariota probably has a really good game, gets the offense going. I just don't think our defense will show up for this game.
And your defense is, like I said, you have Dan Quinn as your coach. I said this maybe 3 shows ago, but you guys have Dan Quinn, and it's so interesting to me that your defense struggles. And it's not like you don't have certain names. I mean, yeah, Marshawn Lattimore was, hurt a bit. But your secondary, you still have other guys back there.
I think for
And you're
me, the biggest weakness that I see from our team defensively is we have a lot of players who are like one trick ponies or who are good at doing one thing. So like our linebackers are strong in the pass rush, but terrible in coverage.
in
Uh,
coverage, yeah.
and our safeties are big hitters, but they're not the best in coverage as well. So I think we get exposed for that pretty often. But when a team tries to slug it out with us, and slow down a game, we can actually hold them, and that's what we saw with the Broncos. But um, what we see with the
Hmm.
against the Vikings is teams can just blow us apart and have their way. And again, just for me, the 0 points is also just like as a professional, um, you never want to go out and just like have a
Score
chance.
no points.
Like, niggas, you couldn't even get a field goal. That is to me embarrassing for a franchise and like completely waving a white flag on this season. I don't think Dan Quinn should be fired, but there needs to be a shakeup. And again, not even just coordinator staff, but our front office, we should be looking at that. Like, why isn't someone stepping in and saying, "Hey, I don't care what Jaden's saying. Like, let's pull the plug. Let's take him off at halftime." If no, especially the history of our franchise, it's just like we've seen that story
RG3.
play out negatively with RG3,
Joe
Alex
Theismann all the way back in the day. Alex
Alex
Smith
Smith.
as
Yes.
well.
And why are we taking these unnecessary risks when we're already only 4 wins in week 14? Are you dumb?
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
just didn't even I didn't even understand why you guys felt the need to play him anyway. To your point, to me, the season's over. So, what is he really playing for? Out like at this point, is it just for the stats? Is it just to say because I'm a competitor and I want to be out there? All that
well,
at
technically, if
this
we
point,
if we won out, we had a chance. But again, it was a slim one at that. So like, I could see,
but like
and
you,
then when you see the way that the game is going by halftime, no points on the board. Like we need to just back it up. Why are we trotting
just
it
back it
out?
up.
Yeah.
And you even said too, like I mean, Mariota has been playing serviceable backup football, and you felt like he was catching his stride. You just keep that going. If you do have a chance, if you do have a chance to get to the playoffs,
Yeah.
keep going with the hot hand right now. Let your guy recover. And then as you get closer, if let's say it's week 17 and it's like, oh, week 17, oh, we're if we win this game for sure and the other team loses, we can be in the playoff race for, like tomorrow today if it happens. So we gotta all right, let's put in Jaden now. Like that makes more sense. Like there's a true guarantee. Now, like you said here, it's like you gotta wait for other things to happen and expect other things to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't get it fully as a franchise, but yeah, this game against the Giants, I think it'll be fun to watch. Mariota's obviously going to be starting again, but I think um, Dart and the Giants will put up some points. I actually think it'll be a fun game to watch, though, with a chance for you guys to actually win the game. But We'll see what happens. Again, your season's pretty much over, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, it was a great start to the season. A lot of hope, especially with the end of last season, that conference championship game. But it just shows how tough the NFL is, and parity in the league is the way it is. Let's move on to talking about some storylines moving into next week, and one of the biggest ones that involved my fantasy team was Jalen Hurts stinking up the joint with 5 turnovers on Monday Night Football.
Ridiculous.
But before we jump into kind of Jalen Hurts going into next week and some of the other storylines, wanted to put out some of those highlights from the game, and it was magical. We had Mike Wazowski here.
They pitch it to Wazowski. He's gone.
Going off on Monday Night Football. I think they had Orlovsky comment on this game too. It was great. And they would basically have like the Monsters Inc. characters play like key players on key plays. And then I think MVP was Sully during the game. I think he had like a pick and like 3 sacks.
Can it get better? Hurts is going to keep an eye on him. Gotta block
And
him.
speaking of Jalen Hurts,
Down, it's a pass for Hurts. Here comes Sully. He got there.
Here comes Sully with the set.
First career sack.
and this is 2025 where the kids can watch NFL football with
Sully wins. You drive it.
Sully. Look at Wazowski.
Sully
Wazowski.
is dropping back.
Oh.
Wazowski throws. Intercepted by Sully. He just throws it right to him. Look at Sully.
It's so funny how not all of them are the monsters either. There's just a random one like on each team.
Look at that matchup right side of the screen.
Jalen Hurts.
Is this played on a delay at all?
It must be. It must be, because how else would they know which player to
They
be like the
move,
special
like,
player?
Weird, like it's some weird tracking technology. Like
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
like the
I think it's
Chinese
cool.
AI like,
But yeah, I mean, I saw all these social media posts of parents with their children, and they were enjoying the game. Some wives were enjoying the game, since it was a very unique experience. It definitely feels a bit uncanny there. But back to football, I mean, that almost pushed me to the playoffs. With my opponent having Jalen Hurts, and I think he needed 5 points or 6 points to win. And in our league, interceptions aren't as costly as standard, so ended up losing, but it's okay. Sometimes making the playoffs just to lose in the first round just isn't the way to go. Just ask the Pittsburgh Steelers. So week 14. So we have Jalen there kind of going off, probably his worst game in his professional career. But this is a guy who always plays up when his back is against the wall. I mean, throughout his entire collegiate and professional career. So that's an interesting storyline going in. The other one that I wanted to take a look at was Shedeur, who went off this week and had an epic comeback here. So team comes back in the fourth quarter. He throws a touchdown, and then for some reason they don't put him in for the 2-point attempt. One of the weirdest things I've ever seen, and the most interesting play call, even with without their rookie quarterback in there. So that was something that I just wanted to highlight as well. That was interesting. We talked about how the Steelers having to go defend their home turf on Monday Night Football. The Colts game is really interesting too, with Phillip Rivers coming back out of retirement. It's not for sure whether or not he'll be starting. Riley Leonard has a knee injury, some knee soreness. He's expected to be the starter there if it ends up happening in that way. But just like for you guys, like what's the most interesting storyline here moving into next week?
I think for me, it's definitely
Yeah, good surrender.
the desperation of the Indiana Colts, trying to salvage something from this season. Um, Pulling the family man Philip Rivers, just saying "fuck them kids" with the litany of children that are ranging from adults to young kids that he has in his household, and coming out of retirement to play. I think that's always a wild card when you see something like that. But obviously there was a sense of confidence from someone at the Colts in terms of his ability to come back, and having been with that organization previously, maybe even just in terms of understanding the play calling that they want to work with, they felt that that was the best choice for them to move forward. And I'm interested to see what he can do. We saw Joe Flacco was holding it down for the Unks, and so now we got Philip Rivers ready to join the Unction. I think that looks really interesting. Again, I'm looking forward to the Steelers storyline, which we discussed already, and I'm interested to see what happens with the Cowboys too. They're on the cusp, but I have the feeling that they will crumble. So I'm pulling up for any hate watch that I can for the rest of the season on that. And the Eagles too, honestly. We play them twice, and I guarantee we win one of those games for no reason. And but it'll be good just to be petty to Eagles fans. And I love the turmoil that seems to be forming on offense there with Jalen Hurts crumbling. Mike Wazowski just not getting it right.
Mike Wazowski.
And Mike Wazowski had a good
Uh,
game too. Sully just had the better one, so it was a great game in Metropolis. It was their one and only game, and it was a big one there. But Quay, what are your thoughts in terms of what are you excited for? I mean, there's a lot of big matchups here going into Week 14.
um, so I think the three big ones, um, and then another one you can go ahead and put down as well. But the three that really stand out are Green Bay versus Denver, Detroit versus the Rams, New England versus. I think those are going to be really wild this weekend. Just crazy playoff implications for these teams, for some of these teams here. I think the Green Bay Denver one is more of an interesting battle just due to how these teams operate. In terms of man coverage, there's no defense better in the league right now than those. But then in terms of beating man, Green Bay is the best in the league. So just kind of how these two teams, like it's kind of that whole unstoppable force meets an immovable object type of thing. So uh, that should be really, really fun. Really get to see if Jordan Love can kind of continue this assertion that he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, maybe making a case for top 5 this year, just based off of his play. So this will be fun. Hard offense, really out defense with a serviceable offense. These teams are pretty much all complete, and they're one of the better teams in their conference. So that should be really fun to watch. Detroit really needs the win just to kind of keep their playoff hopes alive. It's a really tough NFC battle for playoff spots, so they really need this win. The Rams technically can't afford to lose if they just kind of want to hold on to having that number one spot. If they lose to Seattle, or I'm sorry, if they lose to Detroit, and Seattle is able to beat the Colts, they can take over, and they have already lost. And they've lost, they split the season with the 49ers. They have the 49ers there, also hovering around the same record as well. So if they string along some wins too, they can kind of take over and they can they can end up falling under them. So the Rams pretty much need this win as well to just kind of keep that momentum. Crazy that they lost to the Panthers, but shout out to the Panthers after tonight. I mean, they are ahead of the NFC South, so they are in the playoffs right now till Sunday, and we'll see if they can win their game. But New England and Buffalo
That's the
right
game,
there
I
as
think.
well. That's the game, I think, for
1 o'clock.
everyone. They're excited to see Josh Allen and his Bills really trying to get to the playoffs again. And this is the 1 year where Josh Allen might not have the same stiff competition with his typical Rushmore of the modern era. He's with no Burrow, which seems to be the case every single year recently, but he doesn't have to worry about Lamar. He doesn't have to worry about Patty. Not saying that they still can't make it, but at this point, it's really tough. The Chiefs have the Chargers. That's the other game to watch in terms of its implications on the AFC race and everything there. But yeah, I think Buffalo really needs to showcase, like, yes, we want to show that we can beat one of the better teams. We're righting the ship. They've also had some weird issues losing to certain teams, but they need to go in here, win this game, show that they are typically, and show why they are typically the ones that are leading that division and why they have been on the doorstep to a Super Bowl. It is their year to do it. They have to do it. So those are my matchups this week that I'm really looking at. But then just certain other things to touch on real quick. Just giving some love and a silence or a little bit, I guess you could say, or just even like a prayer and recovery, speedy recovery to guys like a Zach Ertz. This in particular injury was really brutal.
Yeah.
It was so crazy is that he wasn't even planted. He was still fully in the air, and his knee really still bent that far, hyperextended back. It's just
We won't be
it's really
showing that one.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't need to show that one.
As a chopped ACL unk, I feel his pain.
Yeah. So I definitely hope it's probably going to be a career for him unless he just wants to show that he can come back and just get back on the field. Players have definitely done that over the even if they know it's not going to be the best final year, they just want to show and prove to themselves and people that they worked their tails off and got back on the field. So
Not for nothing. Get that check.
yeah, right. If not for nothing, get that check. So that's definitely like the other thing I want to just kind of touch on. The injuries that happened this week. Daniel Jones with his
Yeah, tragic.
amazing year, then had his Achilles injury. Still gonna get paid. Yeah, but still gonna get paid, which is nice. The Colts have already talked about wanting to extend him and really solidify him with the franchise. That'll be good there. So I'm looking forward to this week. We got some fun football for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, gave you guys a good hour of some NFL talk here tonight on the Spiel. It's always a pleasure with Quay and Randy, chopping it up here on the late night. Um, Quay, you want to give us your spiel tonight? You're talking about some NBA. And the
Well,
floor is yours.
we just had the quarterfinals for the NBA Cup, just kind of last night actually. With I guess if it's 1 o'clock, but we had Wednesday night. We had the Thunder go against the Suns. We had the Spurs go against the Lakers in the Cup quarterfinals. interesting matchups. The Spurs were still down Wembanyama. He's been hurt since for about 3 weeks now, 2 weeks now. So he's missed a few. Yeah, 3 weeks now. So he's missed a few games, several games now. But De'Aaron Fox and Spurs here are a very deep team, and they've been able to still hold on and be a really good team without Wemby. But obviously, they're so much better when Victor is on the floor. But going into this game, I mean, I think everyone thought the new Showtime Lakers were going to blow this team out the water without their best player. But the Spurs really pushing the tempo. They had a lot of depth as well. Great 3-point shooting from good role players like a Keldon Johnson, who was a really spark plug off the bench, just really making key plays for the team, especially when they needed. They went on a heater. It wasn't enough. The Lakers weren't enough to stop them. LeBron, Luka, and they just had a nice little blowout victory there. Same thing on the other end with the 24-1 OKC Thunder. They are on the verge of winning 77 games. If they keep this pace up, which is crazy, they did a good majority of this even without J-Dub healthy for most of the year until about 4 games back. So it's just kind of crazy to think about how good this team is. They have so much depth everywhere. Their role players are solid, fit the core of the team very, very well. And their future is bright. The league has had parity for the past 8 years, where there's been multiple champions outside of the Warriors, winning multiple times since 2017. And was that back in 2022? 2023? Yeah. But essentially, we've had a different NBA champion over the past 8 years. And with the Thunder and the way that they're constructed, that might be changing. We might be having another dynasty run finally after having so much parity in the league. Doesn't mean that, because, they blew out the Suns at one point they were leading. So just kind of let you know truly how dominant this team is. But that doesn't mean that our teams in the West that could potentially beat this team. If the Lakers figure out certain things, they obviously have a chance. The way Jokic has played and the way the Nuggets look as they have more defense and more depth, they easily could. This was a team with certain holes last year that still pushed this OKC Thunder team to 7 games, and they eventually became the champion. So it doesn't mean that they're invincible, but right now at 24-1, it is pretty insane. But the East as well has also been pretty entertaining. The Heat got blown out. Well, I won't say blown out, but the Heat lost one to Desmond Bane and the Magic. Desmond Bane has been on like demon time right now. He is an angry, light-skinned man. But now I actually think a lot of the plays are legal that he's doing. It's just he's doing it with so much aggression. It's like you see it all the time where someone throws the ball on someone just to get it out of bounds on them. But he is really just like every single time. It's actually pretty hilarious to me. But yeah, this Magic team, even without Franz Wagner, who had a pretty scary landing on his knee with so much force just kind of pushed onto his kneecap the way that he fell down. It was pretty bad, at least the way it looked. But even without them, this team was able to put out my Heat, which don't understand. We had Tyler Hero back, so much depth there too, but it's all right. And then the Knicks were able to also get their dub as well. I mean, I don't think against Toronto, I don't think anyone is surprised by this Knicks team. They have more pace and tempo though this year under Coach Mike Brown, which is nice. They have more movement. So the NBA Cup has been a good start right now. see who inevitably ends up getting the championship here and getting that extra money, a little over 500, a little under 550K, I believe, for each player. So nice little bonus check for them. And NBA season has been very, very fun. And I think this in-season cup tournament has also made things a little more exciting, giving a little more incentive as well, especially for playoff, more of a playoff incentive as the year goes on. You know, injuries happen and things like that. If you do well in the cup, that really pushes, you in a little bit more favor.
All right, well, quite thanks for the NBA update. Moving on to Randy, let's go with the spiel over there in international football.
Yeah, I really just want to quickly touch on the English Premier League table. We're 15 games into a 38 game season. For those not familiar, you get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss. Leading the league right now is Arsenal with 33 points, but Manchester City is only 2 points behind with 31 points. Um, Really shocking performances from Aston Villa and Crystal Palace taking third and fourth place. Both of these teams, in my opinion, are playing above their skill level, so it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain those positions. And then I think the two teams just behind them in fifth and sixth place, Chelsea and Manchester United, are
Chelsea.
really big clubs that their players are worth a lot of money, but they haven't quite gelled yet. So look for those teams, one of at least those two, to make a push into the top four. And then throughout the rest of the table, it's actually a dogfight in the Premier League, with the exception of 20th place. Wolverhampton Wanderers looks like they're a sure spot for
Relegated?
relegation to the championship, with only 2 points through 15 games. It's going to be pretty much impossible for them to catch. 17th place is where they would need to get to not relegated to the championship. And right now that's a 13-point gap. So they would need to win a significant amount of games going into the midway and second half of the season. And unfortunately, I don't think it's possible. And I love Wolverhampton. They've got one of the coolest logos in football. So I hope they can bounce back and make it back to the Premier League ASAP. They sold two of their best players last year in the offseason, didn't replace them, and that's exactly what can happen. Now, the biggest shock of the year that I want to highlight is Liverpool Football Club. They are
Liverpool.
in 10th place. And if anyone saw this week, Mohamed Salah, Liverpool star player, was benched, and he gave an interview saying that there's not a relationship between him and the head coach. And what's
Mm,
interesting and what folks will need to watch about this is the African Cup of Nations begins in a week from now. So any players who represent African countries that are playing in the tournament will be leaving their clubs for about a 30-day period to participate in this tournament. And this comes in the middle of the season for European international leagues for clubs. So Mohamed Salah is an Egyptian captain and national team star. He'll be departing. And January is also the opening of a transfer window. After a public spat like this with his manager, I would look to see some type of movement from Mohamed Salah, probably to another club. Um, and Liverpool, again, the defending champions, are in 10th place with only 23 points, 15 games in the season, and they spent over 200 million pounds to bolster their roster. They did lose Diogo Jota, rest in peace, to a tragic car accident. And it seems like the chemistry and energy that they had last year winning the title has just vanished in thin air, and now they've got expensive players who are feeling the pressure, and their veteran players are starting to beef with the coach, and we'll see what Liverpool Football Club does from here. But yeah, that's it. Premier League has got some jam-packed storylines. There's good stuff going on in Spain, Italy as well, but I'll touch on that another time.
All right, well,
nice.
thanks, Randy, for the update there on international footy. Um, And I'll give our weekly update here on the UFC. This weekend was UFC 323. Marab versus Peter Yan. Peter Yan ends up winning by decision.
Yeah.
Um, he the stats were pretty similar, but every hit that Peter gave, Marab seemed to sting a little bit more. I mean, the one feint with the left hook going into the body kick. I mean, the way that Marab flinched there, you could tell that this wasn't going to be like how it was last time. Peter Yan finally gets his belt back after losing it from a disqualification against Aljamain Sterling 5 years ago now at this point.
Damn,
Usually
that
what
was
happens
ugly.
is, the former champ loses the belt, then they get it back on the rematch. So for him to have that 5 year break, I think 2020, it's just crazy. I still remember I actually started watching UFC a lot more during the Disney Plus era just because it was more accessible. And Peter Yan had the belt and he lost it. I just remember this guy being such a beast. And now he's worked his way back and he's gotten the belt. Other storylines that happen, former champ Jan Blachowicz, a majority draw. Seems like he's always involved in these draws. Another fight that may be of interest, Henry Cejudo and Peyton Talbot, the former double champ, gave it his all in his retirement fight. It was an exciting fight. He was able to show everyone that he has heart, he has grit, but Father Time is undefeated. And it seems like this is the end of the road for him. And then the co-main, which was the flyweight belt, Alexander Pantoja, who was running through everyone in the division, fought Joshua Van, and in a freak accident at the beginning of the fight, ends up dislocating and having some sort of arm injury there. And Joshua Van wins the fight through TKO. A lot of fans out there in the Twitterverse are upset that Joshua Van got the belt. He's the first Asian male fighter to be a champion, born in Burma. But that's just the rules of the sport, unless it was some sort of disqualification, the belt is going to be given to them, right? That's why this sport is really hard to stack those wins, and the greats do it like it's nothing, right? So Joshua Van, the current flyweight champ, the former flyweight champ Brandon Moreno lost to Tatsuro Taira in the second round. He basically got flattened out and had no chance there. It looks like Brandon Moreno's run is probably over. A fighter that was almost cut a couple of years ago ended up taking the belt from Davidson Figueiredo, and then both of them were kind of passing the belt back and forth um, until they ended up fighting Pantoja, who unfortunately lost it to Joshua Van. So very interesting time here in the flyweight division. And that's the update there for the pay-per-view. This week, Manel Kape, Brandon Royval are going to be fighting. Should be a very interesting fight there as we're going into the end of the ESPN Plus era of UFC. And next year it'll be all on Paramount Plus for those who have a subscription there. So very, very interesting times for MMA. And that's it for our show. Thanks for watching the Spiel Sports Talk Show. It's your boy Sal here live from Pittsburgh. It is 2 a.m. in the morning. So we've had a great hour with everyone here, talking it up, chopping it up with sports. Boy Randy from the East Coast. We got Quay over on the West Coast representing everything in the country. Sports from the U.S., outside the U.S., worldwide. And I hope everyone has a good night. And happy Friday, everyone. And until next time.
Peace out.
Till next time, folks. Peace.
Peace out.
Vibe with the pressure. Full court press. Got you on the press.
They can't manage it.
Bum, 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 bum. Ba-dum, bum. Ba-ba-dum, bum.